Hey, JulesBlessedVegan, and as always, welcome to my channel. And for those of you who are new, I know you can benefit. So I want to talk about leafy greens. I know it's an exciting topic. I really want to talk about how to get them in, because honestly, that is one of the biggest struggles for most people when they're starting vegan and raw vegan lifestyle. It's like, wait, how many greens? I mean, they recommend 1.5 pounds a day. Most people are like, well, first of all, that is way too expensive. It isn't that expensive. I mean, it really isn't. It's far less than one Starbucks drink, I'll tell you that. And it's really less than certainly a Happy Meal, okay? And it'll be way happier for your body. You can compare it to many things. Overall, it is not expensive. But in addition to that, they talk about just the quantity. Like, how can you get it in? For a lot of people, the most greens in their day is a slice of iceberg lettuce and 1 tomato on top of a dead hamburger and patty. Which I so get, because I was a meat eater and I was proud, especially if I asked for double lettuce or double tomato. So I so get that. But actually, there are some tricks, and I want to tell you what ones I use. So first of all, what you can do is you can take those leafy greens and you can put them either in a blender or a food processor, and you can push the pulse button, which is a zzz, zzz, right? And you can pulse them a couple of times and it drastically reduces the quantity, and yet the same amount is still there to consume for your nutritional value, which is fabulous. Another thing that you can do, especially for like smoothies and ice cream, you can take it, and I usually do this with spinach. You can take your bag of spinach or even your bag of power grains, if you dare, and certainly kale, and freeze it in the bag. And then when you take it out frozen, you smack it a couple of times against a hard surface, and it literally just crumples into tiny little pieces, much like the food processor or the blender. So that's a fantastic way. You can't repurpose it. It can only be used in things like smoothies and ice cream. But it's a great way to break it and make it very small. Another thing to consider is that sprouts and microgreens, which are so incredibly nutritious, are like 30 to 40% more nutritious than full-size leafy greens. So you don't have to consume as much. In fact, you consume about half as much, and you get the same nutritional value. So those are some ways to just get less. Another thing that I do to just get my stuff in all day long, my vegetables and fruit and things, is that I always accompany sweet fruit with some sort of green. And it may be a vegetable, but generally what I do is when I eat citrus, I like to have celery. And unfortunately, with this nightmare, and I should stop affirming what a nightmare it is, not only were my teeth in so much pain and shock when I dared to try an apple, celery wasn't successful either. So I'll be sure to be drinking that celery, but drinking celery is a great thing to do as well. So I'd like to have celery. Instead, I changed it up and I got more leafy greens. I actually treated myself to some butter leaf lettuce, and it was just, dare I say, buttery. It was just so delicious, and I had that with my citrus to change it up. I had my banana boats, which I love, which are always in romaine, so it's a great way to get in some romaine. I put some broccoli sprouts, which are best frozen for the nutrient value, broccoli sprouts into my banana and ice cream. Not all in the same day, but you know what I mean. These are just different ways that I try and incorporate it. For fun, I made a fat-free dip, and I dipped in things like cucumbers, which again are just so water-rich and delicious. So those are some of the things that I do. Another thing to do, which is just really a fantastic supplement, and there's a lot of misinformation out there because people say, oh, if you have what's called wheatgrass juice powder, and it has to be the juice powder, not just wheatgrass powder, wheatgrass juice powder. If you have wheatgrass juice powder, and it's usually 1 to 2 teaspoons a day, some people say, oh my gosh, you just had 50,000, in 20 servings of vegetables just with that, tablespoon. It's so misleading. It's just not true. It just isn't. It is fantastic, but it's even better when it's in addition to the greens that you're eating. But you could certainly consider it as one meal supplement. So if you want to do one less smoothie one day, one less salad portion one day, you could certainly do that, but it's only equal to like one meal or one snack. It's not a cure-all. And that's one. So just a couple teaspoons of a powder, which is a great way to get it in. It's a concentrated nutrition. And another thing you can do is just use like a green, superfood powder. I have one. I use Puritan's Pride for supplements because they always have phenomenal deals. And I barely use any supplements, but they're interesting kinds like hawthorn extract, which is amazing for me. And also like horse chestnut. Those are things for like nerves and stuff. They're a little different. And they always have just amazing bargains, and all of their things break up really well. So it's called Puritan's Pride. Anyway, for them, they have what's called Essential 10, and I know it's backwards to you, but Essential 10 Superfoods. And this is actually 50% of the fiber for your day, which is amazing. Fiber is so incredible. This has 10 different things from kale to just a bunch, trust me. What I kind of appreciate about it is that there's not that much of any one thing. Like it's literally 10% of your recommended daily, 25%, 29%. Because one of the complaints is that when people are using a lot of powdered greens, they exceed what they need in different categories, because in addition to that, inevitably they're getting it in their food as well. So this is just a scoop a day, and I was mostly doing it as I've adjusted. I got like a 4-pack, so I've been using it as I've adjusted to truly becoming a raw vegan. Now that I'm committed to my food and I'm able to do it, and I'm getting in my sprouts and greens and everything else, when this ends, I will end it. I will stop taking it. But it did help me transition. I will continue though with the wheatgrass juice powder, absolutely, because the benefits of those properties never end, and it's only a teaspoon or 2 per day. All right. So forgive me as I'm struggling to talk as usual. I don't know if I'm ever going to adjust to these Invisalign, but I'm trying to be more positive. Positive, I can't stand them. Wait, is that part of the unfreezing process? Anyway, so those were some of my hot tips to get in your greens. Okay, let's go back and review for a minute, even though it was off the top of my head. So first of all, take your large quantity of greens, put them in a blender or a food processor. Use the pulse button to pulse them down and make them much smaller, and you can consume them more easily. I mean, it's the same quantity, it's just in a different form, right? Also, to freeze them and to bust that bag against a harder surface, and it'll crinkle into tiny little pieces. That's another great way, but it's kind of limited in that it can only really be used for smoothies or an ice cream. After that, I guess you could put it in a soup if you could heat your soup, but it will not become leafy greens, okay? Not fresh leafy greens again. Another one was to incorporate it throughout your day with the different meals that you're having. So like the romaine with the banana boat, like the celery with the citrus. And again, they're supposed to be leafy greens, so celery in itself would not fall into that category, but it's low in calorie, high in nutrients, and it's a good one. Also, getting a variety all the time. You've got to mix them up. So, I'll have power greens in my actual salad. I'll have spinach in my, drink, and even in my nice cream, I'll incorporate it into nice cream. I will incorporate sprouts into nice cream, certainly those broccoli sprouts, which are already frozen, or put them into soups. I also make sure that I am rotating those like every few days. I don't really get obsessed with anything, but they all seem to kind of have their purpose. The leafy thing with the banana, the actual in a salad, the frozen in a drink, it seems to work out, but it is important to balance those. And those are my tips. You can do this, but you kind of have to think of it as medicinal sometimes, you know? If you're like me and you went from one leaf and one slice of tomato, it's not that, like I said, I ate tomatoes with salt on them, but I just mean regarding food. Later, when I started really enjoying salad, when it was a big deal and they had salad bars everywhere, mine was mostly all the fun on top. The seeds, the raisins, the croutons, like all the fun things, and again, barely any leafy greens. So that wasn't authentic either. But luckily, in my commitment to do this and my taste buds changing, I've been able to do it, and I'm happy to do it, and I actually get excited when I see the variety of greens that are available. Obviously, with these Invisalign, it's a little more work, because I seriously have to clean my teeth and floss my teeth and do all those things before I take them in and out and everything else. But it also slows me down and reminds me of my commitment to health, and I'm willing to do it. All right, my friends, let's see. It is 11:30 at night. I've got laundry going, which is what we're competing with. I am not done with my life, and I am not finding balance. So prayers welcome, because I was really praying that when school started this year, I would have a better sense of that, and I do not yet. All right. Like if you like, join us if you haven't. Subscribe. Let me know in the comments below how I may support you, especially in prayer. Until we talk again, best of all, most importantly, absolutely believe that you are blessed.